Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, limited beliefs, and relationship issues. Doing a lot more these days. Book a coaching session, go to writemac.com. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel right now, I'm doing a daily show. I've been doing it for 2.5 weeks strong now, 10 a.m. Pacific time this week and next week. It'll probably transition over to a night time start time. But for now, for the next couple of weeks, it'll be 10 a.m. and we'll be serving up all kinds of good stuff. Like today. Why do I always end up in toxic relationships? Is it me? Is it you? It's not me, it's them. They're the problem. I just innocently walk into all these toxic relationships, right? So today, that's what we're getting into. It's going to be a really good one because I'm going to dive into this deeply. It's a topic you've heard about before, the idea of a toxic relationship. Hey, you're in a toxic relationship right now. These are one of these generalized terms that I don't like overusing, but it seems like something everyone uses now, right? It's this blanket statement for a bad relationship where in a lot of cases, someone's just getting their feelings hurt a lot. The relationship's not good. The communication's bad. So the term toxic has taken over, right? That's what people use now. Okay. What do you mean by toxic is my question. So let's get into it. Why am I always in toxic relationships? Quote of the day. In most cases, I'll lower that for you. In most cases, it's comfortable and familiar. You know how to deal with them because you've been there before, or your parents had a toxic relationship. And for the record, I don't like using the word toxic because it's a massive generalization. I'd prefer you get specific on exactly what's toxic and why. I'd also add, if you believe you're always in a toxic relationship, then you're filtering for that. And you'll just get that over and over again. Your subconscious mind wants to be right. So if you tell it, I'm always in toxic relationships, then that's what you'll get. And finally, some people just feed off drama. It's why we like a good dramatic movie or series. It creates an importance and purpose for some people. Okay? So I'm going to unpack that quote piece by piece. But before we get to that, this is an interesting little piece here. Just looking up the word toxic relationships on Google, the first thing that comes up is Lillian Glass, a California-based communication and psychology expert, who says she coined the term in her 1995 book, Toxic People, defines a toxic relationship as any relationship between people who don't support each other. Where there's conflict and one seeks to undermine the other, where there's competition. Now think about that for a minute. Someone goes, oh, this relationship's toxic. The next question will be, well, how is it toxic? Because toxic means any relationship between people who don't support each other. That seems pretty broad. Where there's conflict and one seeks to undermine the other. So see how these generalized terms get used, and then you get down to the simplicity of them. And then if you get down to the guts of it, like what's toxic? Why are you using that phrase? How can we get to the point where we're actually talking about your problem and not putting this huge general label on it? And toxic, it has a little edge to it, right? Oh, it's a toxic relationship. How about how different does it sound when you say, man, I've been in a really bad relationship. I've been in a toxic relationship. Doesn't that just have another edge to it, a little spice to it? And what an honor for Lillian Glass to coin the phrase toxic relationship. Hey, just so everyone knows, I'm the one that invented that phrase. Now, does anyone ever think about this for a moment? Someone invented that phrase. They came up with it. They put a couple words together, and now it's a catchphrase. It's what people use now instead of saying, I was with a real jerk, or this woman used me for money. Instead, it's like, I was in a toxic relationship. Just carries so much weight, doesn't it? So much drama packed in that word toxic. Because to me, originally toxic was used for chemicals that can kill you. When you think about it, right? So getting into it, I also Googled toxic relationship, and really quick, I'm just going to breeze over this. It's healthscopemag.com. It's the first thing that comes up for toxic relationships, right? And this is just getting into my point, okay? Stay with me on this. So what exactly is a toxic relationship, and how do you know if you're in one? So this is right here where you get programmed to start looking for this stuff. Keep in mind, it takes two individuals to have a toxic relationship, meaning our own words and action matter as well. Okay. So types of toxic relationships. Deprecator, belittler, number 1. 2, the bad temper, toxic partner. So is it possible just to say my ex had a bad temper, or do I want to say they were toxic? I think it's better just to say they had a bad temper because that's more specific. Correct me if I'm wrong. The guilt inducer, the overreactor deflector, the over-dependent partner, the independent, non-dependable toxic controller, the user, the possessive, paranoid, toxic controller. These are all on this website as subcategories of a toxic relationship. So what happens here is when you go down this rabbit hole and you start going into it, you're like, oh shit. Oh my goodness. Wow. I think they're this. I think they're that. What happened in your relationship? What happened? What happened in your breakup? Stop the label. Get specific. So then we can get to the problem. Then we can maybe help you fix it. Okay. What do you go to a mechanic for? Think about this for a minute. Let's play a game. You go to the mechanic. Your car's having a problem. It's making a lot of noise, right? Your generalization to the mechanic is, look, the car's been making a lot of noise. It's really loud. I don't know what it is. It's a loud noise. You go to the mechanic to get specific on what it is so that they can fix it. The mechanic goes, oh, that's your classic case of a loud, toxic noise that hurts your ears. If the mechanic said that to you, said, I already know that, but what's wrong with the car? Now, when you're dealing with a breakup, you're going to have to give information because you're the fucking car, right? You go to the doctor. And the doctor says, what's wrong? You say, I got this pain in my shoulder and I don't know what it is. It's been throbbing. That's the problem. You don't tell the doctor, I have this toxic pain in my shoulder. If you did, you're just adding weight to the problem, right? And then the doctor will ask you some more questions. Well, does it hurt when you do this? Are you eating these foods? They're asking questions to get to the bottom of the problem. When you go online and you figure out, like, oh my goodness, I got this great term that I can apply to my ex, these great labels. When do things get solved? When do you get to the bottom of things? What happens is you start blowing the whistle. You tell everyone you know, hey, this is who they were. This is the label I have. So here's my definition. My definition of a quote unquote toxic relationship, extremely simplified. A relationship where both sides or one side is regularly having hurt feelings toward the other through relationship interactions. Let me say that one more time. A relationship where both sides or one side is regularly having hurt feelings Now, someone might say, oh, it's not hurt feelings. Usually at the base of it, people can call it anger. They can call it sadness. Someone's feelings are getting hurt regularly. Okay. Towards the other through relationship interactions. Some signs it's bad. You feel hurt by their actions and words. You can never agree on very much. You argue a lot, and someone always has to win. That's a big one. Because in relationships, it's not always having arguments is a bad thing. But when an individual has to win, it's kind of different, isn't it? It's kind of different. Now, when you look at this, think about that for a minute. Have you ever had a friend, family, or colleague, and you have an interaction with them and they can't agree to disagree, or they can't see reason in any of your points? They just see their point of view? Because to me, sometimes it's like, hey, man, I'm willing to hear your side of the story and admit if you made a good point. Now, if you're with someone that always has to win, or you always have to win, that's toxic. One or both of you impose their bad values on the relationship or the individual. This is my definition of a toxic relationship. Okay, so I'm gonna swift through this one more time. A relationship where both sides or one side is regularly having hurt feelings towards the other through relationship interactions. Some signs it's bad. You feel hurt by their actions and words. You can never agree on much. You argue a lot and someone always has to win. One or both of you impose their bad values on the relationship or the individual. Okay. The purpose of a good relationship or outstanding one is to help each other grow, to support each other through thick and thin, to truly impose love and good feelings onto each other. Now, that doesn't mean you don't argue sometimes. But in these relationships, couples tend to fight more fair, more reasonable, and not in a case of who wins or who's right, because the one that's wrong or got it wrong will be accountable in a good relationship when they are wrong. So you don't have to beat it out of them. At the core of each of these people in a good relationship and an outstanding relationship are virtuous values that line up with each other. Does that make sense? All right, now I'm going to unpack the opening statement here. Get into that in a minute here. So, number one, what do I mean it's comfortable and familiar to you? So, in the opening line, I said, in most cases, it's comfortable and familiar to you. What I'm talking about is why you're always in a toxic relationship. Okay. In most cases, your parents or those that raised you, your guardians, possibly your grandparents, your auntie, or your uncles, were somehow toxic, or you regularly witnessed a toxic relationship. So you feel like it's normal. You've been there before. You know what to expect and how to deal with it in your own way. It's not foreign to you. It's a language you speak, especially if the toxicity is very similar to what you dealt with before. You go, this is how relationships are. I'm used to this back and forth, this drama, this one-sidedness, this someone's got to win the argument. I'm used to this. And so when you ask yourself, why am I always in quote unquote toxic relationships? This is one reason. How does it help to realize that? Well, look at the way you were raised. If that relationship was bad and you are reliving that in your relationship in some way or somehow, that's a real start to find the seed to that. It's a great realization to make. A lot of people don't see it. Number two, why I don't like using the word toxic. Now, this is my own Because at this point, there's so much information on what a toxic relationship is, you don't really have a simple definition for it. It's a massive generalization of various problems in an individual relationship. Let me say that one more time. It's a massive generalization of various problems in an individual relationship. For example, if someone says my ex was toxic and I asked, how so? And the person responds, he was always lying and highly selfish. Okay. See how that's a different thing than saying my ex was selfish? Or, I mean, excuse me, my ex was toxic? It's more detailed. We can get to the bottom of that. So, my next question would be, what did he lie to you about? Then they answer, mainly money. Okay, now we've gotten more specific. He told me that he had a car and a house in another state. He also told me he had $200,000 in Bitcoin. I found out it was all a lie. So now we've gotten somewhere. We've gotten away from the generalization that you're in a toxic relationship, and we've gotten specifically to you're dealing with an individual that's lying to you, specifically about money. Now, to dig a little deeper on that, where can you be a little bit accountable? Were you a little bit gullible? Did you want to believe that? Is that something you wanted to believe? I know that, over my life, there's been situations where people, how many people, um, will be extremely gullible, and it's not their fault. It's partly by the way they were raised. They weren't around consummate liars or things like that. But when people are throwing around whoppers, you just have to ask some simple questions sometimes, right? Someone's, I was this, I was that. I remember there was a guy I went to high school with. I've talked about this on the line. The guy was just full of shit would be an understatement. Okay. I mean, like, and they were people that lie like this, they don't even know they're lying. They believe their own lies. I remember this guy became a parking cop in the city that I was living in at the time. And you see him around. And so me and a couple buddies ran into him. It's like, hey man, what's going on? I knew he was a parking cop, right? I knew it. And he was like, yeah, I'm training for the SWAT team. Dead serious. I was like, dude, in my head, I'm like, how could he say, yeah, they don't usually start you out on the parking police when you're going on the SWAT team, right? My point is, some people believe this stuff and then get upset about it. But the question is, why did you believe it? Right? That's where you got to reevaluate, where am I accountable in this situation? This guy tells you he's got 200K in Bitcoin. He's got a house over here. He's got a car over here. Start adding shit up, right? Start adding stuff up in your mind. Like, wait a minute, right? And why is this person going out of their way to tell you that? All right. So getting back to the topic, for example, someone says their ex was toxic, and I asked, how so? And the individual said he was always lying and highly selfish. Then you ask the next question. So we talked about that, what he did lie about. How was he selfish? It was the little things that really bugged me, like not wanting to give me rides to the airport and always having me pay for the bill for dinner, then never wanting to leave a tip. So again, we're back to money. As a woman, I believe the man should take care of me. That's what my mom taught me, and that's the kind of relationship I deserve. So my next question, if I was doing a cut, well, what's holding you back from that? See how you get away from this person's toxic, this person's toxic, this person's toxic. I'm in a toxic relation. What happened? Let's unpack this thing. That's progress. So you got into a point where you're like, the guy's a liar, specifically about money. He's selfish because, yeah, that is a shitty thing to do, I guess, if he doesn't want to give you rides to the airport as a partner or boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't know what his reason for not giving you a ride was. But then you go back to the money thing again, saying he doesn't pay the bill for dinner after saying he's got 200K in Bitcoin. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? That's where you start to put the puzzle pieces together. But going around and saying you were in a toxic relationship compared to unpacking what I just did, you can unwind what's wrong and then not do it again. not fall into it again. Look, next time if someone tells me they got XYZ, I'm going to ask a few more questions to get to the bottom of that from the get-go. And I like to be taken care of because that's what my mom taught me. That's what I'm looking for. So there are guys like that out there. I mean, some guys might be cringing, going, "Oh, I would never do this. I would never do that." There's guys that love to open the door for the woman, pay for all the dinners. Go for you. You can find those. Start filtering for them. Because here's the problem. On the flip side, if you filter for, "Oh, I'm always in a toxic relationship. This always happens to me," it's going to keep coming. Right? And this is where we find the problem in the generalization of, "Oh, they're toxic. The relationship was toxic." How was it toxic? Let's get specific. There's a lot of issues with lying about money specifically in this story, right? That would be much easier to unpack, unwind, and deal with than going around saying everything's toxic. All right, number 3. And for those in the live stream, I will get to your questions. I will address things. So if you have questions, comments, Michael Andrew, welcome. Thanks for throwing in your piece. Number 3, those who believe life is just happening to them without their participation are really living a dream world where they refuse to take accountability for their role. This is a great quote, and I wrote it. I'll take some credit for it, right? Call me a narcissist. Those who believe life is just happening to them without their participation are really living in a dream world where they refuse to take accountability for their role. If you end up in a toxic relationship, then that shouldn't be happening to you all the time because of bad luck. Okay? Fool me once, fool me twice, not 3 times. Mistakes are okay, but not the same mistakes twice. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. If you end up in a toxic relationship, then that shouldn't be happening to you all the time because of bad luck. It's choices, decisions, and environment. You have free will. You've met potential partners that would be good for you, but you somehow passed on them to get into toxic ones. I'm going to circle back to this for a moment. Look back. Have you passed on a good person for one that you felt fooled you later on? So what do I mean by that? You're dating someone, you look back at your Rolodex of dates, maybe relationships, interactions, and you go, that was a really good one that I thought was too nice, or there was something wrong, and I fell for the snake in the grass. Whose fault is that? Is that just by chance that I always end up in toxic relationships? Are you blaming your environment for not having good potential partners? I hear this a lot. For example, dating apps are actually kind of an environment, right? It's a sub-environment. Oh, I hate dating apps. All right, well, change the environment you're looking for. Change the dating app you're using. Oh, my city that I live in is the worst place to meet people. Move. Can you move? Plan for it. The other part of this is that, has it become a part of you to be in these type of drama-filled relationships? This is really overlooked. It gives you a lot to talk about. I know individuals that love a good drama spiel. You're always engaged in the relationship and it never gets boring for you. On the other hand, someone that seeks a healthy relationship where their partner loves and supports them will grow bored with constant negativity. It's the reverse. So, for example, I had a client that was with her boyfriend for a year and a half, no longer than that. It wasn't a very long relationship. She broke up with him because he got overly jealous. Really kind, sweet girl with really good morals and values. The last straw was when the guy repeatedly accused her of liking his best friend when she was just being nice to the guy. She said she got bored of explaining herself and left him. Then when he begged and pleaded her back, she said she had pity for him but lost all attraction. After him crying to her many times, she just cut him off. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. So someone might go, I was in a toxic relationship. My boyfriend was so jealous. But here's the thing. This woman never described it as toxic. She got bored with it because it didn't line up with her. She didn't accept it. Now imagine this relationship as a more toxic one. It goes on for 5 years instead of 1.5. With the same theme of the boyfriend being jealous and constantly accusing her of being too nice, which over time turns the girlfriend into someone that thinks that any kind of interaction with other guys is wrong and to be avoided. Now, my question would be, why couldn't she get out at the 1.5 year mark when she smelled smoke? Somehow, in this version of the story, she accepted the situation and rolled with it rather than rejected it. Much more toxic situation. But in this case, she played a role in her acceptance and adoption of the boyfriend's values. Right? So this is where one individual had the similar situation, because people tell me this, oh, you must see the same things all the time. Similar topics such as cheating, jealousy, things like that, different interpretations. Different interpretation leads to different actions. Interpretations can't come from your code of conduct, which is your values. Okay. Now, if you're getting into your values, the first story I just told you, the girl was out at 1.5 years and she was at peace with it. And she was actually bored with the jealousy. That was her words. I was just getting bored with explaining myself. You know why? Because to her, it was just ridiculous. You keep saying that I'm flirting with your boyfriend. I'm not. I know what I'm doing. I know my intentions. The girl that stays 5 years with the same guy and then cries toxic relationship, my point is, had a role, whether she knew it or not. And something inside of her said, oh, maybe this guy's right. So he imposed his bad value system on her, that a woman should be meek, never talk to his friends, which really he's projecting his insecurities. Are you with me? So, number 4, if you keep telling yourself something you don't just make it true, you search to make it true. Let me say that one more time. If you keep telling yourself something you don't just make it true, you search to make it true. So if you walk around and say, I'm always in toxic relationship, I don't know what it is. How do I attract these guys? You're going to make it true. The subconscious mind wants to be right. I'm always in toxic relationships, but I don't know what it is. Start with, stop saying that. That's where you would start. If someone came to me and say, hey, I'm always in toxic relationships, I might ask a few questions about what's toxic to you. Give me some examples, and I'd say, number 1, can you stop saying that statement? It's much better to say, I've learned after being in a toxic relationship what it is I'm really looking for in a relationship. Or how about this one? I no longer get in toxic relationships because I stick to my values and know what a good relationship really is. It's making each other feel good, not bad. Don't you like that simplicity? You get in an argument, you hurt someone's feelings in a relationship, you deal with it. Someone apologized, someone's accountable, you work through it. You should be making each other feel good more than you're not. Right? Number 5, this is a big one. Please listen up. We got 4 on deck and 3 likes. Watching dramatic content or a series about relationships, which is completely fictional, can make you believe that most relationships or your relationship that is quote unquote toxic is actually normal and adventurous. Maybe you like the guy in the series that's an asshole that's seeing 3 women and playing them all. Then you end up in a relationship like that and you do nothing but complain as the characters in the show do. Think about that. I'm gonna punch this one home in a lot of my videos. Your content consumption is programming you. Choose wisely. Okay, let me give you an example. I had a client whose new girlfriend, they had been, when I say new girlfriend, they had been together for under a year. So it was a new relationship, was constantly comparing situations in their relationship to a soap opera series she was watching for years. She'd turn his actions into events that she felt she knew the ending of or what he meant by what he said. Then she'd compare it to the series, blindly following a false narrative that was programmed into her. Think about that for a minute. Think about that. How does that work? She's watching this series. She's relating it to her own relationship. And then the guy's like, how does this mean? Like, I don't think I'm this character in the series. Right? This is what happens. So if your partner watches certain content or listens to certain music that they believe they're a part of, they're going to impose that into the relationship. Right? And it can be toxic if it's toxic material, if it doesn't line up with your value system. I mean, that was a really interesting story. The woman kept going, this is not this. I'm not going to do this because this is just like the series. The guy's like, what the hell? Right? Watching TV is programming you. Oh, this is how the world works. People a lot of times don't understand the difference between fiction and nonfiction when they're watching a series. All right, so I got a story on deck. I'm going to touch base on the live stream real quick. Michael Andrew, I hate how liberally toxic is thrown around. For me, toxic requires two people, and their dynamic is toxic, where they feed off and react to each other's actions. It's a tit for tat thing. The specific combination of the two people brings out the worst in each. They each bring out poor quality and behavior from the other. Get Fit with Sunshine Sandy. Check out her channel. I am listening. I use dating a collecting data to see if I want to continue. If I find it toxic, toxic person, I exit immediately. It should not keep happening, dealing with toxic people. Absolutely. You have a choice in the situation as you get older and you get more experience. And that's a lot of times what dating does and relationships do. If you had a bad relationship, it should have been bad at the end, not all the way through. People, oh, we had 6 years of hell. Why didn't you evade? Why didn't you take an exit? Well, I was worried, like, yeah, roll in that. Okay. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, but this is what a lot of people don't realize. You don't have a video camera watching you so you could watch your actions. If you did, you'd be shocked sometimes, right? So be more mindful of what happened and why, and don't let it happen again. D Snuts, hello, how are you? L, my ex loved to watch romance, anime, and said that she wished I had done more things for her like the shows. That it's big, it's underrated. And I would add, content consumption of YouTube, whatever it is, whatever someone obsessively watches or listens to, they're going to correlate or weave into their value system and what they want. And some of it can be extremely fictional or far-fetched, right? If you have a girlfriend that's watching Desperate Housewives and just loves it, look out. There's a playbook they're going to run probably. I mean, some of these guys that end up marrying these, I'm not going to get into it, but it's just crazy. All right, just to recap really quick, the opening line, in most cases, it's comfortable and familiar. You know how to deal with them because you've been there before or your parents had a toxic relationship. And for the record, I don't like using the word toxic because it's a massive generalization. I'd prefer you get specific on exactly what's toxic and why. I'd also add, if you believe you're always in a toxic relationship, then you're filtering for that and you'll just get that. Your subconscious mind wants to be right. So if you tell it, I'm always in toxic relationships, then that's what you'll get. And finally, some people just feed off drama. It's why we like a good drama movie. It creates an importance and purpose to their relationship. And one of the things that you can filter on the drama situation, right? Just when you start dating someone, if they dramatize situations at work in a certain narrative, or they dramatize stuff with their friends in a certain direction, you're next. Okay? You're next. So we got a story. It's kind of a long story. I'm going to get into it right now. So if you have a story you want to send it into Coach Mac at writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com. I could do an unpacking like this one in a live stream just like this, or if you want to book a live coaching session and unpack it privately on a Zoom call for an hour or two and really get deep into it to get some clarity moving forward, I'm here for you. All right. Coach Mac, here's my story. Keep doing this daily show, please. I don't get to watch it live, but I usually watch it later in the night. Well, thank you. My ex and I broke up twice this year. Both times it's been over money. She's 26 years old and a knockout. By far the best looking woman I've been with in my life, and I'm now 42. So right there, that tells me that you're going to put her on a pedestal, which is fine. You got a huge age gap. Thanks for mentioning that. You got 16 years age gap. She's 26. She's at the peak of her looks wise, probably. You say she's a knockout. She's the best looking woman you ever been with. You're 42. So you're smitten, right? And I bet you feel like at 42 years old, I look good. I'm a good catch. There's probably a secondary gain for her being with someone 16 years older. I'm okay with that as long as you know that. Okay? As long as you know that. It's not going to just be attraction. We met online 2 years ago, and I started a long-distance online relationship before we met in person. She lived far away in another country, but we talk daily. Okay, this is very common now. This is not people that are surprised by this. It's going to be more and more of this, right? It's a sign of the times. Then this last year, she got a visa to come live in my country. Sounds like a TV show. We were both excited to finally meet in person, and immediately we just clicked doing everything together. I know from watching your show that you like to do the 1 to 10 on trust, 1 to 10 on connection, and 1 to 10 on attraction. So a lot of times a good base point when you're in a breakup, but also anytime during the relationship to get a pulse on your feelings, you can ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, what's my trust? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's my connection? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's my attraction? And be fucking honest. First number that comes to mind. It felt like they were all 10s for those first 6 months. Well, that's how it should start, would be my answer. That's outstanding, and I believe you. Then she started asking for more money. Dun dun. Specifically to send to various family members. I knew when she came over that she didn't have many working skills, so I'd have to take care of her financially. I make enough, and I was okay with that. However, I didn't sign up to send her family money. I'm sure this wasn't discussed in the online portion of the relationship. In the beginning, it was her mom who was in the hospital. Then her brother's daughter had a communion and wanted extra money for the party. Then her niece entered college and was short on tuition. All those I gave the money for because I believe them to be good reasons. But it just continued after that with all kinds of reasons. Well, she was training you to help out her family. Now, here's the thing. I've lived in other countries. I've been a part of other cultures for long periods of time. Okay. There's other countries where this is just an expectation. You make more money. You're the man of the family. You got to help my family out. Now, this is where the 16 years in age difference, she's a knockout. She's the best thing you've ever had. This is the secondary gain here. Like it or not, whether you want to believe that or not, from what your story's telling me, This is part of the deal, an arrangement of why she's going out with someone 16 years older than her. Okay, that she met online in another country. I don't have a problem with it. Just accept it and be honest with yourself, dude. Okay? And so part of your relationship, because you've accepted that she doesn't have a lot of working skills in your country, we're going to take care of her. Well, how is she going to take care of her family? A lot of other countries don't have pensions or social security. Okay? So this is what it's going to be, whether you accept it or not accept it, whether you get pissy about it or get angry about it. And this is what happens when you're on online relationships. You think you know someone, but you don't. Now, the other part of this is whenever you have someone that's financially dependent on you, you're their job. Okay? What do I mean by that? You're their job. So the stakes are higher for them not to lose you. They don't just lose you in a breakup, they lose their job. Keeping you happy is their job because you're the one that gives them their money. It's just not a paycheck, it's an allowance. Okay? Just be dead honest with that. So getting back to this, I believed them to be good reasons, but just continued with all kinds of reasons. When I started to question her, she got upset with me and instantly said, I don't care about her and I don't love her, that if she had more money, she'd take care of me, that her dad always took care of her and spoiled her, and that's all she knows. And her dad passed away when she was 14. She worshiped the guy, which I always thought was a good thing. The first breakup. So bottom line is a lot of people go, oh, this is daddy issues. This is daddy issues. Daddy issues is a generalized statement. Okay, that's used with a lot of different things. Specifically, we got a situation here where she said she was spoiled and her dad took care of the family. And now she's saying, that's what I want you to do with me. Okay. Now, like it or not, wrong or not in your eyes, this is what it's going to be. You're not going to talk her out of this viewpoint. So she worshiped the guy, which I always thought was a good thing. Yeah, a woman that looks up to her father is a good thing because in a relationship, she regards you as a person. And being that you're 16 years older, there's probably something there that you're an older guy that she looks at as fatherly, as weird as it does sound, but it is true. The first breakup happened when I denied her wiring money back to her family for her uncle's farm. She told me it was just $500 and it would really help him. I just put my foot down for the first time and said, no, I can't do it anymore. She broke down crying. Then as I held my ground, she started screaming in her home language and stormed out of the house. I didn't see her for 3 days. She didn't answer calls or texts. Finally, I texted her that I'd give the uncle the money just to let me know you're okay. Within hours, she called me. So right there, you just gave her a playbook of if I want to get money. And by the way, she's not writing this down or anything like that. She doesn't even know it's a playbook. Okay, if I do this, this, and this, I'll get my way. If I cry and storm out of the house and don't talk to you for a few days, I'll get my way. And that's probably what she's used to get her way when she was a little kid. Okay? So right there, you created a situation. She'll do that again if the same scenario comes up because it worked. Okay? And asked for the wire to be done before she came home. So now she's making demands like, make the wire to my uncle before I get home and then I'll come home. She's negotiating. She then said she wasn't sure if she wanted to come back home as she didn't think I really loved her. That was that she was wasting her time with someone that didn't love her. It was like I was talking to a different person. So I assured her I loved her and missed her. So now you're in her frame. You're answering to her. So she's going to use that statement again and again because she knows she gets the upper hand with that one. She came back a few days later and refused to tell me where she stayed, but it was on a credit card bill that she got a hotel, a pretty expensive hotel too. Well, are you surprised? When she came back, it felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells. She spent even more money at the mall on her personal shopping, even buying numerous gold necklaces. Well, that's a huge red flag because gold necklaces are transportable. They can be sold in any country. In a lot of other countries, they're used as a form of currency. So I don't know where she's from, but there's something to that if she's stacking up gold necklaces. I felt like she was daring me to confront her. I became passive aggressive, asking questions, but never putting my foot down again. Then in this recent breakup, she asked for $10,000 for her mother to buy a house. I said no. She explained that she knew I had plenty of money to afford that. I said I do, but I won't lend your mother that money, and I've never even met her yet. She got on the phone immediately on FaceTime, and the mother was already thanking me for the money because the daughter had told her in front of me that I was happy to get her that money and help her. Wow. Talking about me putting on the spot. I was okay with it while she was on the phone. But after she got off the phone, I told her to never do that again. And that she'd have to explain to her mother that it wasn't happening, that she could tell her whatever she wants. So here, but I wasn't giving her the 10K. So that right there tells me that she's willing to go for the kneecaps to get her way. And this is a classic case of fighting and having to win. She has to win at all costs here. And she's willing to do whatever it takes. That's a scary place to be in a relationship. But here's the thing. She's the best looking woman you've ever been with. That's what she said in the beginning. And that's, and want me to be honest here as I'm stuttering? That's why you're dealing with this. So just know what the trade-off is, dude. That's when she stormed out again, and I haven't seen her for days now. I texted her a few times, but I won't give her that money. Well, if you don't give her that money, she's probably going to take off. Because she's established that that's a big part of why she's with you. Okay? The problem is she does have a debit card and a credit card, which I put on hold yesterday. So that's right there. You took your power back. All right, she's got a debit and a credit card. What do I do? Well, if you can X out those things, do it. As again, she was staying at an expensive hotel. I'm thinking of going to the hotel to confront her in person. I just don't know what to say. I love her. I want her back. But where does this end? It doesn't end. It doesn't end. So someone said in the chat that this is a scam. I'm not sure this is a scam or just someone that, from a country with not a lot of opportunities. They met online. She's got a 16-year age gap. She's a knockout, according to him, right? And that's the trade-off. And her family's extremely poor, possibly. Could be a scam. But if it was a scam, they probably would have went after more money by now. I think there is some feelings there. There's just expectations on her end. If I'm going to be with you, you're going to take care of me and my family. And if you haven't really stated how much you make or how much you've thrown around, right? So we don't really have an element of, well, I make $200K a year. I make $300K a year. I don't know what it is. But to her, you're a millionaire. And she just doesn't get it. Right? Now, when you say, what do you do next? Be honest with yourself. Okay? You love this woman. She's a knockout. You have a great connection. Okay? You're not with her for money or support. She's with you for money, support, and probably some feelings there. If she doesn't get her way in regards to taking care of her family, she's out. This will just keep reoccurring. If that's okay with you and you got a load of money, or like in the beginning when you said, I believe you said something like, oh, I gave her money for the communion for her niece. I gave her money for this. If it's your pleasure to do so, go ahead and do it. Someone from the outside might go, oh man, you're getting played. She's a gold digger. Whatever. That's you. I don't know how much money you got. But at the end of the day, taking care of her family is a choice, but you can't resent it. It's got to be your pleasure to do so. See how that's different? There's a difference there. And there's guys out there, but no problem. I'll take care of your family. Do you believe what she's asking for? Is it your pleasure to do so? When you said you started walking on eggshells, this and that, see the dynamics of Western culture in America, like you don't do that. There's some other countries, that's what you do. Like this is where the trade-off comes in. You're 42, she's 26, she's a knockout. They haven't really said how you look. Like, people go, oh, well, what is it? I don't have a problem with this woman. She's telling you exactly how she is. There's nothing cryptic here. That's why writing out your story and sharing it with someone like myself that's objective, I can see all the twists and turns here. Accept it or don't accept it. But you're going to be paying her bills, her family's bills, and yeah, it just pretty much won't end. And if she doesn't get her way, she's going to throw a hissy fit. She's going to walk out on you. She's going to go for the kneecaps, for the jugular, and you're going to be going, "Oh my God, should I give it?" You've already given in multiple times. Why wouldn't you give in again? And if she's 26 years old and she looks really good, sorry to tell you this, she's probably got more options than you at 42. Just a reality. Just a reality. Okay. If you want to book a live coaching session, unpack it a little deeper, we can get to that. Relationships is a choice of what you want to accept or you don't accept. It's not if I think it's good for you or not good for you. Right. And that's the problem. You help her out with a couple things, and then, like, where does it end? Sounds like it's not going to end. Sounds like she's got a pretty damn big family. Sounds like she feels entitled to your money. And it sounds like you're not up for it. You got some choices, man. But I'll tell you what, if she already told her mom that you were going to give her 10K, she probably doesn't want to lose face on that one. And so if you don't do that, it's probably going to be curtains. And you know what? That's just fine. Can you deal with it? It's all a trade-off, my friend. All right, really quick, I'll get back into the live stream today. People need to learn compartmentalize Hollywood from reality. You know what? To be honest with you, D-Snuts, I just don't watch a lot of Hollywood stuff anymore. It's just too fake. Is it a good sign if your ex doesn't block you? I mean, why would it be good? Why would it be bad? I'd have to know more of your story, Miguel Coronado. I would say that, you know, I've talked to people on both ends of that where they're like, I'm going to block them or she's going to block me. I do believe that in most cases, if they don't block you, there's a few different reasons there. It could be pity, like they feel sorry for you. They still want to be friends with you. But it also could be that they want to leave the door open, that they hope that you contact them. There's a variety of things here. And unfortunately, I'm not Nostradamus or psychic. I'm a very good breakup coach. I help people with their limited beliefs. I do some hypnotherapy. I do some things. But I'd have to know more to your story, Miguel. I really would. It sounds like the poor guy is getting scammed. Like I said, I don't know if it's a scam. It just could be what she expects in a relationship. Gay in NYC, funny what she doesn't ask for is marriage, just money. Yeah, that wasn't mentioned. Good point. Well, I think he'd be in more trouble if they were getting married, but he mentioned that she got a visa, so maybe they did get married. I don't know. Sometimes people leave a few details out. All right, I'm going to give people a few moments to throw in any closing questions, any topics you want me to touch on in the next few days. We got a small, intimate crowd today for the live stream, but that's all good. And if you guys want to be updated, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. And then when the show comes on at 10 a.m., hopefully it hits you. Tomorrow, I will be talking about, what did I have on deck here? It's going to be a really good topic tomorrow. Going on a relationship fast. This is something that I'm going to get into depth. Probably spend a chapter in my book on it because it's a great alternative to, I just don't want to date right now. Going on a relationship fast. This is actually something highly useful, and a way to feel good about yourself while taking a break from relationships or dating. And I think it's really healthy at this stage in the world. Decentness. How is this not blackmail? Well, blackmail would be if she was using something against him of evidence, like he had a naked photo she was going to show his boss or something like that. I don't see her using anything like that. So I didn't feel like it was blackmail. I just think that she's leveraging, I'll break up with you, I'll leave you and never talk to you again if you don't give my family money. So I don't know if blackmail would be leveraging. Breaking up with someone is a cheap move, but it also says what she's really about in the relationship. And like I said, dude, you got a 16-year age difference. She's 40, you're 42, she's 26. There's some secondary gains there than just love, passion, romance, and attraction. Just because you find her to be the best thing since sliced bread, maybe for her, you're more of an opportunity. And that's okay. Those relationships can last. You just got to know what it is. Exactly. But most people call that a form of blackmail. Okay. If some other people call that a form of blackmail, that's fine with me. For me, I wouldn't characterize it that way, but I'll agree to disagree because that's okay. Why would my ex make out with me during the breakup after I told her the whole truth of my cheating? She also said she is going to miss me a lot and that I am like a drug to her. She said, I love you, but can't be with you. She said she still loves me. Then why leave makes no sense. Well, you did something wrong. You cheated on her, if I remember correctly. So that's why, Sherlock. Why leave me? Didn't you tell me you told her that you cheated on her? That's why. So you know why. When someone cheats on someone, it depends on how deep someone's moral value compass is towards cheating. That's individually based. That's not a rule of human nature or female or male dynamics. That's not feminine masculinity kind of thing. Okay. So if her mother cheated on her dad or vice versa and it ended the marriage, it could just be a highly sensitive place for her. If it's her first time dealing with cheating, she still loves you, she's still highly attracted to you, there's probably a strong possibility that she could let her guard down and come back to you. But you're not going to keep saying sorry. But here's the thing, dude. When you do something wrong, a lot of times women with some kind of self-respect want to make you pay. They want to make you fight for it. And if they want to get you on the ground and hit you a few times, people, let me just put this one. Get your pen and pad out right now. This is a really good quote for you. People want you to feel what they feel. You hurt her. You were hooking up with someone else. You were honest, accountable. You were sorry. That gets some points. That doesn't mean that she's just going to go, okay, because I love you, we'll be back together. She wants you to feel what she feels, right? If someone walked up to you, Miguel, smacked you in the face, would you do what Chris Rock does and just stand there? Or would you try to smack him back? Most people would swing back. People want other people to feel what they feel. By the way, I think that whole situation was staged. Odd Carlo, maybe because she's still wounded by past mistakes, Miguel. Maybe. Miguel, I highly recommend you book a live coaching session. We'll unpack it or send your full story in. That's what I would do. But I'm glad you're riding on the live stream. All right, folks. It's been good. It's been grand. It's been outstanding. I appreciate you all. I'll be back on deck 10 a.m. tomorrow. Closing words. Man, I just want her back. Well, I want a lot of things myself. You're going to have to make sense of it. The best things in life, sometimes you got to wait on a little bit too, right? You know, that's the thing. So Miguel just wrote, fuck, bro, I just want her back, man. Right? And this is where you're obsessed. Except she's hurt and upset. She's not going to just, because you want her back, because you're hurt now. It doesn't work that way. What's the best coaching? Go to rightmac.com, book a coaching session. 1 hour or 2 hours. It's $125 an hour. If you don't find it useful and helpful, I'll refund your money. I'm very good at what I do. Okay? That's your options, Holmes. All right, folks, it's curtains. Take care.